It's one-shot quali for the British Grand Prix event. This is the sprint qualifying. One lap, one opportunity to get this one done. And it's Verf, who's currently on top, going through the first sector and into the second. They have 7 poles in a row in LSI. This is a different one, obviously. It's a sprint pole position, so it's not the actual thing, but it would be a very good start to kick off this event. After a DNF last time around in Saudi, a sprint race is exactly what they need to try and get a few points back on their rival, Jericho Willis, who sat in P2, looking to try and get another front row start alongside the Sauber car, as there is Verf going through Chapel Corner, scrubbing off a little bit of speed to try and get the car rotated, then DRS for the final time into Stowe Corner, send it with all your might, sixth gear, letting the car slow itself down with barely any brakes, if at all, into the final chicane. How's it going to go? A big bit of understeer, but it doesn't really seem to be bothering them too much. Will Jericho snatch it at the last second? No! Verf will get there with 0.3 of a second. Just like yesterday, they take a pole position. And I say just like yesterday, as I think yesterday's pole was also taken by 0.3 in the sprint. 2.97. Jericho takes away that bragging right. Jericho P2 and Bredesco in P3. Lovely stuff. That is that one done. We go through the race director, and we'll be back in a second for the start. That is Rare Winter DSQing from that one. So Terence is at the back, but very close right there with Bredesco on the lap times. What can those guys do today? Nine laps of intensity. Ready? Hold. Go! Who's going to get it into turn 1? Verf on the outside line, getting a brilliant start in side by side with the 2 McLarens, as the Red Bull will go around the outside of Terence and stay in front, or get in front, and up to P2. A brilliant send, but no, it sends Jericho all wide and round. Jericho down the order off the start. That's absolutely tragic, but Verf breaks away by 0.9. That is phenomenal, and I don't know what happened there, if there was contact with the Red Bull or not, but Jericho went off the circuit and then lost the car. So that's really frustrating for their race. They're still the championship leader, but they don't need this. They do not need this. Rare Winter now 0.9 behind. They've got to try and do something. They had a chance to win back in Saudi last time around, but it didn't quite go their way with the safety cars in the end, and they missed out. It was really difficult to take, but they still got a podium, if I'm correct in saying. Terence holding on to that P3 spot off the start there, and they've got the 2 higher tier drivers following closely behind as Brothers calls down to P6. Yes, it was a P3 for... Oh, that's Terence up to P2. Lovely stuff. It was a P3 for Rare Winter last time around. It was a P2 for Terence, who continues their podium streak. It was also a fastest lap there for Rare Winter. After having those issues, they went for an extra pit stop. And those are the fast laps coming in now. But it's Terence to try and hunt down Verf. Terence was victorious against the Sauber car in not Singapore, in Monza. They missed out in Singapore. Can Terence try and do something again? They don't have DRS. Rare Winter does, but doesn't choose to fight the Red Bull, and they just want to allow them to stay ahead for now, and then maybe go for the slingshot. But they really need to get a move on soon, because that Sauber is incredibly quick. 2.3 seconds splits Peanuts and Jericho Willis. Peanuts is holding onto the back of Jericho's teammate. Jericho just trying to see if they can gain anything back out of this one, which would be really good to see, of course. Now, we're currently getting Verf and P1. That would be 8 points to their name. It would be 7 points to Terence. It would be 6 points to Rare Winter. 5 points for Brothers Cool, and 4 points for Jericho Willis. That's Tom Robb looking to the inside line, at least of one of the cars. They try to follow Rare Winter through. They do so successfully, and Terence allows that one to happen. They wanted to have a look at the double, but they didn't go for it in the end, and they will relax. That's what you need to see from a higher tier driver. Just making the select moves and staying out the way as much as they can, despite doing a bit of a slipstream train situation right there. It's now 2.2 second gap that Verf has. Now, bear in mind, Verf, this was their first pole position and victory. Their first victory in LSI, their first pole position of the current streak that they have. They do like this circuit a lot, and they can do well here. It's Tom to the inside, making another move, and is now going to try and see if they can catch up to that top spot. Now, Verf's got their home Grand Prix coming up next weekend. They really want to try and win that one, but we've seen them perform well around here, as I just said. Last time around, they did get that pole position, and I'm not sure if it was the fastest lap. It wasn't the fastest lap in the end, but they were incredibly quick. That's what I can say. And they deserved everything that they had that day, and they're going to try and replicate that once again, this time with a sprint race to add. 8 extra points to their name would be incredibly good. There is no fastest lap point for this sprint race. There is a move to the inside from Rare Winter, who's trying to make the slipstream train work. And it's going to be Tom to the outside slightly. It's going to be a defensive throw just momentarily until moving back to the racing line for Rare Winter. They need to try and relax off of each other and not fight so hard, because it's only allowing Verf to break away. Now they're going to go side by side through turn 1 as Tom will back off. And they're just losing more time. That's 3 seconds to the rest of the cars. It's going to be a big bunch up with everybody behind. It's Peanuts trying to get alongside their former teammate at Aston Martin. It's Terence encountering some lag, dropping back, and then there's contact with Brothers Cool and Terence. Nothing came of it in the end, and I think we just have to be happy that nothing did come more of that. But that was an interesting one, with Brothers Cool narrowly escaping a further incident, or a more significant incident. Looking at the tyres, we want to have a quick look at, actually. It is mediums here for Jericho Willis, who opted for the kind of safer strategy. We didn't see it work out last time around, or yesterday I should say, only because Nifo, who was leading, that's a very, very bold move that I thought they were going to go for there. Anyway, it was Nifo who was the lead medium tyre runner, who was competing for the victory until they had a massive issue where their wheel disconnected and they spun the car. So if that didn't happen, maybe it would have been the medium tyre strategy. But so far, looking at the data that we have, it is the soft tyre that you have to go for in the sprint, and it seems to be working for everybody. But you never know, if these cars fight, Jericho might have the chance to come back, although they are running out of laps to do so, as it's lap 5 out of 9. We're way past the halfway point of this Grand Prix. We've got Tom Brainer, who is trying to have a go once again as they just poke their nose to the inside. Rare Winter will stay ahead absolutely fine. Looking to get the better entry is Tom to the inside. Not quite going to get there for turn 5, so they'll have to get it down the DRS straight. They'll move to the inside line, and they will get it Well, no, they're going to back off, or are they going to go for it in the braking zone, interestingly? So they continue to lose time to Verf ahead at the moment. Verf is only going to be happy with this one, and it's an interesting strategy, but they're doing it, and they're giving us some racing. Peanuts is going to be wanting to try and get ahead of the higher tier driver. They've got to, of course, make sure that they don't cause any issues with the current tier drivers. That is a current tier driver of Rare Winter going off the track, possibly quite there, so they did maybe get a track limit for that one. Looking further back, as these guys are in the train, they're going to be moving very, very quickly. It's Rare Winter, not Rare Winter, it's Jericho Willis, who is on that medium tyre, who's only going to go slower, but his teammates made a mistake. It brings him closer. There's lots of moving here. There's a lot of opportunities. It's going to be Peanuts trying to go through. There's lag with Rare Winter, as Rare Winter glitches around the circuit and ends up behind, but now inside and side by side with Peanuts. That is incredibly difficult, and I don't quite know what's going on, but that is Rare Winter eventually figuring out what to do, and now they are sat in that P2 spot. So that was incredibly confusing, and I think well raced from Tom Robb and from Peanuts. It wasn't an easy situation to be in. We also see Bread is Cool on the inside line as they've made the move originally ahead of Terrence, but Terrence is going to try and come back at them again. They've got the outside line, which is not the beneficial one. As you go on the bumps, they move to the inside. They aren't going to go on the brakes, though. They will back off and let that one be. It was a good effort, but Bread is Cool stands strong for now. Jericho catches about a second in all of that battling, so the hopes are still there. They could possibly gain a few points. Of course, Verf is leading, and they don't want that to be the case, but you never know. Maybe, just maybe, something could happen, but if not, they just want to try and get ahead of as many people as they possibly can. That is their best course of action here in Silverstone. This is the sprint. We've still got a main race to come. We've still got a main qualifying to come. So Jericho gets another opportunity to start up further in the grid. It's Peanuts around the outside at Stowe. They're trying to give it everything they possibly can. Into the chicane. They'll brake late. They'll take the racing line. They'll take the move. And Rare Winter will relax for now behind in the train, and Peanuts finds themselves now into the P2 spot as Tom Robb did a few moments ago. Verf leads the way now by 6 seconds as these guys fight. It's absolutely incredible. I think they realised, you know what, Verf's breaking away anyway. So maybe it is possible to fight. I think, yeah, I don't know how to say it, but we're on lap 7 out of 9, that's what I can say. And we've got a very, very, very quick Jericho Willis catching up to this battle as Rare Winter once again makes that move. Peanuts doesn't fight it as they let that one go. Bread is Cool has an opportunity to the inside of Tom Robb that quickly disappears. It's going to be a very close call with Peanuts and the Ferrari as the Ferrari tries to have a look around the outside, but then they back off and slot in. There was a bit of dragging there which possibly lost the momentum, but it is going to be Jericho Willis surely getting an opportunity on the final few laps. It's Terrence who drops down the order behind the other cars. It's going to be Bread is Cool going through. Terrence tried to have a look around Tom, but it didn't quite work out. Tom drops behind many, many cars now, and Jericho Willis is in this battle. They don't have the DRS, so they weren't able to go for a move despite having a really good run on the Haas car. Oh, Bread is Cool gets a 3-second time penalty. That's terrible news, but brilliant news for Jericho Willis as they don't need to make a move ahead of their teammate to actually make a move. Now, we'll see how this one goes, but we've got Peanuts who is right behind with Rare Winter. Rare Winter should be able to hold on to this nicely. Of course, with the higher tier drivers, it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be Tom Robb trying to go for the overtake on the inside line, but they do go for the switchback instead. It's not going to be the case, and they continue. It's Peanuts to the inside line as they go for the move. It's going to give Rare Winter a bit of DRS and slipstream. It's going to make it incredibly difficult for Brothers Call to do anything. There's contact with Tom Rob as they make a big mistake, and that's going to allow Terrence to go through. That's allowing, a big advantage here. But no, it's going to be Tom letting go and allowing Jericho to go through on this fresher tyre, I should say, better tyre at this stage of the race. It's side by side with Peanuts and Rare Winter. Peanuts gives in the end. Rare Winter with the bravery. It just about worked, but it's DRS to the Aston Martin, and it should be, well, no, it's not going to be a move. It is not going to be a move. They're going to wait until the final lap to get anything done. It is Verf, Rare Winter, Peanuts, Brothers Cool, Terrence, Jericho Willis, and Tom backing off in the end. Jericho Willis has a brilliant opportunity to finish P3 in this race. They just need to get ahead of Terrence, and if they don't get a time penalty, they'll be able to stay ahead of Brothers Cool. That'll be P3 for the sprint. That'll be 6 points to their championship, only 2 points different to their rival, as they are currently leading them by 17 points. 15 points could be the margin going into the main race, which wouldn't be too bad considering everything that they've been through so far. But Jericho still needs to try and pick up the pace a little bit more if they want to do anything about it. Rare Winter continues to lead the way as they don't need to worry. They don't need to worry about Brothers Cool with the time penalty. They don't need to worry about the higher tier driver behind them. They just need to stay ahead of Terrence and Jericho Willis, who are going side by side, it looks like, into Cops. No, it's going to be the championship leader backing off. No, it's not. It's going to be Terrence backing off. I didn't quite get to see what was going on there, but all of a sudden Jericho is right there, and they could possibly go for it if they had the battery, if they gave it everything, if they got the good run, but they didn't get the good run. I don't think it's going to work out for Jericho. They've given it everything, and they've done a brilliant job in doing so. It's going to be Peanuts, the outside line. Will it be their position? Rare Winter fights with all their might, trying to stay ahead. It's going to be Peanuts in front. It's going to be to the inside line now. Rare Winter will get there and take the move. Verve wins the sprint race in Silverstone with absolute style as well. It's Rare Winter in P2 and it's Peanuts in P3. What a race that was. What a race. And Jericho Willis gets to P3 for the EU drivers, which is a phenomenal achievement. Absolutely awesome. To go from P2 to last and then go back to P3. Oh, it's not, sorry. It's I've completely misjudged that. What Terrence got through. I didn't quite get to see that one. My bad. Verf wins, Rare Winter P2, and Peanuts in P3. Terrence takes P4, Jericho Willis, Brothers Call, and it's Tom Rob further behind, who allowed the other guys to fight by staying out of the battle, which we do respect massively. We are going to get the session results. We'll be back in a bit for qualifying in about 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you very much for waiting. We will be with you very shortly. The drivers are just readying up for qualifying. Welcome back to LSI. We're here for qualifying for the main race let's get it underway. No times on the board except from right now, as Verf has put their top time there already, 26.662. That's a pretty good banker. Yesterday in the F1 tier, they set a 26.132 starting P4, I think, in that race it was in the end. So they had a brilliant qualifying for that one. It was a 25.760, which was the pole time. It was a little bit tainted by the fact that a few cars didn't get their final runs, but it's still a very quick lap time indeed. And we'll see how it's going to go today. Last season, the pole time was a 26.450, and it was Jericho Willis behind Verf by 0.002 seconds who did the 4.52. Which, yeah, absolutely incredible margins. That was, as I said earlier on, where Verf took their first of the current streak of pole positions. It's going to be Rare Winter crossing the line, and they jump ahead of their former teammate. A 27.1 will be good. As a banker, you get at least something already in. Very important to get that done, of course, as always. Now, Jericho Willis, they had a difficult start. Despite starting on the front row with their rival, it just didn't quite go to plan. They're side by side almost with their teammate into the first corner, and then we got into the first chicane, and there must have been contact or something with Rare Winter. Jericho went deep regardless, spun the car, and went down. In the end, they finished in I can't remember. Oh my days. I've already lost the results in my head. That's incredible. Well, they finished behind Terence in the end. In the final few corners, I think they tried to go side by side with their teammate, and it didn't quite work out. They finished P4 out of the 5 current tier drivers. That was what happened in the end. I can confirm that now, as I do remember. So they tried to get ahead of Terence. Their teammate had a time penalty. They knew they'd get ahead of their teammate. They tried to go on the offense to defend from Terence, but Terence found their way through and got that position back. So a brilliant job from them to get that podium in the sprint. They're going to try and replicate that again and get another podium in LSI. They currently have a massive podium streak all the way from Singapore to P3, P1, P2, P2. Can they try and go again? And yeah, put some really good points on the board really for themselves. And they currently have 74 to Verf's 84 as Verf DNF from Saudi Arabia, leaving Jericho Willis with a big margin with 101 points. That was leaving Saudi Arabia, however. That's now changed with the sprint race, of course. Now 3 points have been gained by Verf on Jericho Willis. That brings it down to 14 points difference in the championship between the top two. Alright, we're back. 8 minutes on the clock. Terrence has set their lap. P4 for them, jumping ahead of Brothers Cool. They're going to try and find a bit more time later on into this session. We have the current pole sitter and the pole dominator out on track for another outlap, ready to go. We've got Jericho on an actual lap right now. They've got 106 points to their championship at the moment, scoring 5 points in that sprint race, finishing P4. And that's to the 92 that Verth has got. 14 points in front. Indeed it is, as we double check that with the stats. They currently have a nice lead. They just need to keep it clean. Last time around in Silverstone, they started P2 in the race. A big bit of lag from Zora in front caused them to get distracted out of that very corner chapel and lose the car and go into the barrier. Unfortunately, it's going to be Jericho backing out of this lap and not going again. So straight into the pit lane. It will be straight onto a lap for Verth. However, 0.6 at the moment. They're looking to get a decent 5/10 on this lap to try and match their best yesterday. And they're going to try and go a little bit further as well. I am sure you always want to better yourself. They go through turn 5. There's still 6 minutes on the clock to go faster, of course, but it would be nice to get it done early. Middle of the circuit to avoid the bumps on the right-hand side, then back to the right-hand side, trying to turn the car in, maybe a little bit of scrubbing to try and get the extra grip on the exit. Third gear, you can really choose if you want third or fourth. It can work either way as they go through 8 and into 9. Cops Corner, the big one, down into 7th gear to keep those revs up and turning in nicely, avoiding the bump on the inside if you can, but it can chuck you out. It doesn't lose you too much time. Down to 7th through the first S and down into 6th as you exit Chapel. That's what you want to do. Keep the momentum up. Don't scrub the speed off of the gearing. And now down the straight using a bit of overtake into Stowe Corner. We're going to go down to 6th gear here to try and slow that car down and reach that apex nicely, nice and smoothly on the exit, using everything you can. The final chicane. Don't go deep. They don't go deep as they did in the sprint qualifying session. They keep it nice and clean. They go around the final corners and they improve by a nice margin there, and they're not too far away from their best time earlier on, and we've still got a long way to go. As I said, in this session, that is a brilliant lap, a 26.215. They're going to be pretty happy with that one to get it done now. Jericho missing out on their middle run does have a bit of a downside right now to their chances of starting further up, I guess you could say. It's a tough one when you don't get the lap in, but it's the way it goes. And it's currently been going the way of Verth in qualifying. Maybe going the way of Jericho in the race. Of course, they got their double victory to start off this season, which really put them on a good bit of momentum, especially as Verth, their closest rival, effectively, who was rapid in qualifying, as they always have been so far this season, getting a P2 and a P4. Then it switched around with a P4 for Jericho and a P1 for Verth. Then things mixed up throughout, and now we're back with Jericho winning the last Grand Prix in Saudi Arabia. That is another yellow. It's Peanuts just going a bit slower around the circuit. It's Terrence starting another lap, and we'll see what the man from Hong Kong can do. It's late night, but it's racing that they are used to. They've done it again and again and again, week after week. So far, week after week, they've stood on the podium. They're going to try and do that in Silverstone here. DRS, ERS being used, but they've actually turned off the battery pretty early on, falling a little bit closer to the right-hand side compared to the other cars. And it's still not slow at all. It can be very quick. Down to 2nd gear we go with Terrence, up to 4th immediately. They're going to lose a bit of performance out of that one. Through 8th and into turn 9. Staying in 7th. This can be a viable strategy as well. So that doesn't seem to be too bad at all. Do they go up to 8th or do they stay in 7th again? Once again, that's absolutely fine. And then they'll go down into 6th, maybe 5th. If they really struggle, they've just gone over the track limits. If you ride that inside curb just before a little bit too hard, it can chuck you out on exit. And unfortunately, they invalidate a chapel. They've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds to try and go again. They are going to go straight into the pit lane and pray that they've got enough time to do so. And we've got many cars that will be waiting for these final opportunities. We've got Bread is Cool, who are going out for their final run. It's not Bread is Cool. It is Jericho. We're being given the wrong camera angle. I completely missed that one there. Terence might not get another run in this session, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go. But what I can say is that they might as well try. They might as well try to qualify with using all the tyres that they can, because we've got a full wet race start, then it's going to intermediate throughout the entirety of the rest of the race. It's going to be a very interesting strategy. It's going to be a little bit like Monza, where Terence did win that race on a brilliant strategy. But now they're just going to have to go full pelt in qualifying, and we've not got much time left in this session. Is Terence going to go again, or are they going to just leave it? Is it a little bit too late? If they were to go now, they would have barely any time. They're pushing it. They're going to try. You can see them coming out of the pit lane. It might be a little bit too late, but they can't afford to go slow on this outlap. They have to push to the limit. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. We'll wait and see what Terence can do. It's going to be Verf, not first to set a lap, because of course it's Jericho. Jericho went early to try and get some clean air, and they will lock in to get their final run done, as they've got to try and find 5-6 tenths to get to Verf. Verf wants to try and beat their record yesterday, just for that bragging right, I guess, as this is the tier that they want to be going the quickest in, because it's what matters most with the championship on the line. A 0.747 for Jericho Willis. This is where they change it. ERS not being used into turn 3. Braking as hard as they can. 4th gear down to 3rd. Get the car rotated into 4 up to 5 on the throttle, using the ERS on the exit of 5 and then turning it off. They're looking to try and use a bit more battery later on into the lap, so that's exactly what Terence was doing earlier on. Braking very, very late, but getting that late apex as well. Into 7 they go on the exit, 4th gear instead, as they opt for that different strategy. A little bit more rotation in the low rev range you can get from that, and they are going to maybe look at going to 8th gear. No, they'll stick it in 7th and keep it flat out on the exit, using everything available to them. And they'll go through Maggers and Beckett's, and we're going to see them also stay in 7th gear. Then down to 6th, they'll go into Chapel Corner, trying to go, down to 5th gear actually, as they will go back up to 6th, use all of the battery as they have it left. And it's going to be a purple middle sector for Jericho Willis right there. Through Stowe, they've got one final chicane to go to try and improve a little bit more. Will they have enough in this final sector to compete with their rival, to displace the Sauber? The final corner is upon them. Jericho Willis across the line. It's going to be a P2. A brilliant effort, a 0.4. It's just not going to be enough there to get their team, get their rival, their teammate, P5 at the moment, trying to go for a bit more of an improvement. They've got 2.5 tenths almost on their lap time. This would be not enough to get Terence, but maybe that final sector is where it's at. They've run out of battery into this final few corners, but can they find a little bit more time if they keep it tidy in the final seconds of this session? Red is cool across the line as well, and they do improve by 3 tenths, but it's not enough. Despite Terence not getting that final lap time, it doesn't matter. It's a 0.202 for Verf as they improve by margins. It's going to be Rare Winter around the final few corners. What can they do here in qualifying? The home Grand Prix, it's going to stay P3, but it is an improvement. A brilliant effort from everyone there in qualifying, giving it their all up to the line. Verf takes pole position once again, followed by Jericho Willis, partnering them on the front row of the grid. It's Rare Winter in P3, and that is the rest of the grid. The race director is on your screen now, and we will be back for the race in the wet. We'll see you in a bit. Ready? Hold! Go! Who's going to get it into turn one on the inside line? Jericho Willis is not going to get the traction down to be side by side with their rival, but they'll get clearly ahead of the Red Bull. It's side by side as Tom Robb gets ahead immediately off the line, ahead of Terence, Peanuts, and Bread is Cool, as Peanuts is on the inside line, making it 3 wide for a moment there. Surely they're going to have to back off. They don't. They try and stick it in. They're going to try and stay side by side. Bread is Cool will struggle, but they will stay in that P5 spot, and it's Terence who's behind their old teammate in Aston Martin at the moment. P6 for Peanuts right there, but a brilliant start and a nice clean start for both of the top 2 and the top 3, more importantly. 1, 2, 3, Verf Jericho and Rhea Winter. We're going to look at the data on the screen, just get it ready. As we see the wets, it's the inters for Terence. They're going early on the inters. They're going to try and remove an extra pit stop if they can. We're going to see at least 1 pit stop from everybody in this race. It's just whether we're going to see 3 or not, I don't quite know. It depends on how long they're going to try and take these wet tyres. It depends on what Terence is going to do with this intermediate. Now, this wet tyre will be quicker, much quicker at the very start. On the exit of Chapel, Jericho Willis is not going to let up anytime soon, and they're going to put the pressure on immediately. Verf cannot relax in this Grand Prix. They had the gap earlier on, but now it's a very different business. The track is completely different. It's like driving another circuit, basically. And it's going to be Rhea Winter hoping to see if something will happen in front and they can collect the spoils. But for now, they've got pressure from the higher tier driver who will be looking to try and do something about it. The inside line is going to be theirs. They're going to have to back out on the inside. You're going to have to lift off the throttle into turn 1. Surely it's going to be Peanuts having a look on Tom Robb, just trying to scare them into making some sort of maneuver off the racing line to allow them to gain a bit of pace. And Tom very close to the track limits on the exit. They keep it clean for now. Spread is cool in P6 right behind the Aston Martin. Terence is not doing a bad job in this Inter, and they'll be coming through. It's Tom who goes deep into turn 6 and into 7. There's a wheel bang between the two. The Ferrari will stay ahead, but only by a small margin. Struggling on the exit. Peanuts has the run. Peanuts is using the battery to go for the inside at Copse Corner. Will they be able to hold it? Tom is gonna stay there, but not enough. They go off the circuit, does Peanuts on the exit after the contact, and they allow Brothers Cool to go through due to the battling. And that was a very, very intense moment right there. Lap 2 out of 26 only. We've still got a long way to go in this Grand Prix. Tom gets the traction down a bit better than the McLaren, and they'll use the battery to try and come through. But I don't know if that McLaren's going to let it go that easy. I think they probably want it, to be honest. Tom backs off, tries to come back through as the space is left, but with the wider line and able to open up the steering a bit easier. It's going to be Brothers Cool going through, but they completely miss their braking point. And Tom goes into the back of the McLaren. No harm done, luckily, and they'll stay as they are. The top 2 are as they are as well. Verf and Jericho Willis lead the way, almost relaxing with each other at the same time. In the wet conditions, it's so intense, and the wheel was a little bit harder to work, as you can see on that McLaren. It's a bit twitchier, and you do have to think a bit more. No DRS, it is just pure pace in this condition, and now they're going to have to use pure strategy to figure out which lap it will be that they go on to the Inters. And Terence is already incredibly quick, but they should not be too eager to get onto that green tyre, because if they can go a little bit longer and wait, and they can maybe go to the end on that intermediate tyre, they're definitely not going to be able to go immediately onto the Inter and then try and make progress. In the meantime, 4.5 seconds, Rhea Winter and Jericho Willis had between them. That's a brilliant effort from the top 2 to break away. Of course, Rhea Winter has not really had it that easy, been fighting for a lot of this race. They've now got a gap between themselves and Peanuts, just a little bit, and because there's no DRS, and there won't be any DRS throughout this entire race, it's just going to be incredibly difficult for Peanuts to actually make a move. It's going to be Brothers Cool pressurized by Tom, who will have a look around the outside, and braking a bit harder on the inside is Brothers Cool. They do have the momentum as they go through Stowe, but they do back off and they continue on their way. It's going to be Terence, surely looking to make some progress, because this tyre is only going to get quicker from this point onwards. It looks quick, but they just don't quite have the opportunities coming to them to make any moves, to make any progress. It will come soon. They just have to stay patient, because those wet tyres are going to get incredibly treacherous in a couple of laps' time. That intermediate tyre will wear out, but they should still be good to go. They're spinning up the rears a little bit at the moment already. They've got to try and minimise that if they want to make this strategy work. Otherwise, it would not be worth starting on this intermediate. So far, it looks like it could be a good strategy, but it's not going to be easy. They just can't find an opportunity. You can't stick your nose in there. You can't stick your nose in here. The car ahead could just get a sudden snap of oversteer and you could be in trouble. That's Tom getting a time penalty, a very interesting part of the circuit. You don't often see a time penalty being awarded at turn 8, but there you go, it's been done. Terence not able to find a way through at the moment. In the meantime, Verf has broken away by 1.0 seconds to Jericho Willis. Just found a couple of laps of madness, I guess, and made it work. These guys are going to be trying to follow the wetter part of the track at some point in this race to cool down their tyres a little bit if they can. Well, will we see that happen? I don't quite know, but you can see that dry line already becoming a thing. Will they go off the racing line to cool those tyres down, or are they going to stay on it? There you can see Verf does go to the inside slightly, but it's not too far off the racing line regardless, so maybe they're not trying to cool down their tyres just yet, and they feel absolutely fine to stay as they are. Terence did go past Brothers Cool just as we're watching away and looking at the track conditions with the top two. Terence then makes the move. 2.2 seconds behind Tom at the moment. They're going to try and make some progress on this tyre that should still continue to get quicker than the wets very soon. Tom 1.4 seconds to Peanuts, who has closed in slowly but surely on the Red Bull, who's sat in P3 for the overall race and the current tier drivers. They've got 6 seconds to the top two as the gap is continuing to build for Verf here in Silverstone. And half a second only. Will Peanuts be trying to use the battery to put the pressure on? Getting on the grass there on the exit of Chapel just lost them any chance of a run really, and although they're in the tow, and that tow will be powerful and allow them to catch up. Maybe they've got a bit of a setup advantage as well, I don't quite know. It's just not going to work out for them this time around. Terence gains a decent amount, about half a second on Tom Robb in front, and they're going to continue to do so. Fastest lap there has been set by your race leader, a 0.530. Not too far away is Jericho Willis. Not too far away is Terence now. Actually very, very close. So you can tell that these tyres are definitely becoming quicker, and they will be the faster tyre within about a lap, or maybe even already they are the faster tyre. As you can see, Terence continues to take massive chunks out of Tom Robb up in front. And I don't know if Tom Robb should really fight that. I mean, ultimately he's a higher tier driver, and if you weren't a higher tier driver, I don't know if it would really be the idea to fight it anyway. So I think they'll probably just be staying behind, or allowing, sorry, the Haas driver to go through in this one. Just drifting through turn 7. You can see the rotation in that car as they're pushing the limits, and they're now within the 1 second range. They will gain massively in Maggots and Beckett's. Would it spot an opportunity for a move already on lap 6 though? I don't quite know. An opportunity to get it to a 2 second range is Verf currently doing a phenomenal job. But it's not over, as these two can figure out how the strategy is going to work between them. It's a very complicated one. We're going to see Peanuts looking for the move here on Rare Winter, but not finding the opportunity, going to the wide line as there's a defensive throw from the Red Bull. Once again wide, but now to the inside. They don't opt for it. They just back off and let it happen. Verf goes again for a fastest lap. Terrence, will they take that fastest lap away as they come around the final corner on the cross line? What's it going to be? They do go, and that is a brilliant, brilliant fastest lap. Is that by 2/10, if I'm correct in saying it is? So there you go. There's the call. That is the call to try and maybe have a look. Brothers Call is doing it. Talking about call, they are going to go to that intermediate tyre now. That's an interesting one. We'll put the tyres on the screen. I did not expect it, to be honest, because we've still got a long way to go, and Brothers Call is risking, by going a little bit earlier, risking having to pit again, or maybe getting a puncture on the final few laps. 2.7 seconds as these tyres get hotter and hotter. Verf is able to cope with them. It's just Jericho Willis not finding it quite so easy, as they are just trying to cool those tyres down massively, and I think they will be following into the pit lane, that's for sure, as Terrence continues to make massive gains on the cars around him. Would they have a go at Peanuts and Rare Winter in one go down the hangar straight, or are they going to go into the pit lane before he can go for the overtake? I don't quite know. Will it be the right call for Terrence in this race? ERS is going to be used. They've got a lot of momentum. They've got a good run. They move off to the racing line to slot in behind Peanuts, but an opportunity will not arise. And I think we could see some pit stops right here from the cars in front, as Rare Winter is going to go into the pit lane. Peanuts doesn't go. Peanuts does not go into the pit lane. Verf continues out on track, and so does Jericho Willis, to go faster yet again. And it's going to still be a massive gain here for Terrence, but this time not a fastest lap as they were battling, and maybe, just maybe, Jericho and Verf were able to see that, and they stayed out. Well, I'll tell you what, Jericho can just afford to follow Verf, because they've got a 3-second gap, and that is a really nice spot to see whether your rival goes into the pit lane, and then you can react. Obviously, you want to be right behind them, but you can still react quite nicely and decide on what to do with the pit stops. Terrence is going to be hoping to make a move sooner rather than later, because look at that dry line. Absolutely incredible. It still enters, just to double check there and let you know, but that is one hell of a dry line. It's just going to be incredibly greasy, that's for sure. So it will be inters, no questions asked. It's not going to be a wet surface run for Peanuts, though, up to Copse Corner. They want to stay on the dry surface. So an interesting call right there. We've got Jericho Willis going down the straight. There you go. You can see Verf going onto that wet part of the circuit. You're going to see Jericho doing a similar thing, just with the left-hand tyre, so maybe not worrying too much about this, as they are going to opt to go into the pit lane. Verf does not go into the pit lane. Will Jericho follow now on lap 8 going to 9? They will do so, and they're going to try and get the jump on their rival, braking as late as they can in these conditions, locking up those tyres to push the limits. Peanuts follows on, as Terrence did not make the move on the Aston Martin driver right there, and they will continue. Peanuts rolls into the pit lane. It's better to avoid a 10-second time penalty than it is to get one. There is Terrence now being unleashed, and they will get to P2 with a longer pit window, or a longer pit time as well. They will have a bit of a gap between themselves and the cars behind. Now, something to mention here, as that's a 3-second there for Rare Winter, who is going to be coming out, well, not behind, or actually, will they be coming out behind Peanuts and Jericho? That's the question. Definitely Jericho, but not Peanuts, as they will get a nice jump, and they're going to have warm tyres as well. There you see it. Tom Robb will jump the Aston Martin as well, and that is a brilliant one, and it's going to be difficult, but Peanuts will have the ability to have a fresher lap tyre and can go to the end quite nicely. Well, compared to the other cars around them, they have the advantage. We could still see punctures towards the end of this Grand Prix. Remember that. We've got to be careful. Brothers Call gets a 3-second. Now, Verf stays out. They're really looking for that overcut strategy. It's 11 seconds away is Terence. Jericho Willis 15 seconds away from Terence. So 15 seconds ahead, 15 seconds now behind, more or less, as you get the 28 to 30 second pit window. Is it 31? I don't quite know. I can't quite remember. I've gone completely blank. That is a fastest lap there in the pit lane, Senna-esque, around the British Grand Prix as well. That is absolutely awesome. Wow, that's brilliant. Verf gets the fastest lap just for a moment. Terence will take it away immediately. But look at that, a 39.6 in the pit lane against the 39.8. That is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. If that stayed, that would have been incredible. But it wasn't going to stay, was it? Jericho Willis will have nice warm tyres, but that is an absolute masterclass of an extension. That being said, as maybe Jericho Willis just made a few mistakes as they missed the apex there into 4. Maybe frustrated about something that they've done earlier on. These tyres are going to be nice and warm. They will go to cool them. 3.2 seconds. And they should be able to bring that back a little bit before Verf does get those tyres warmed up. And now what we're seeing here is that the dry line is so dry that the cars still need to go onto the wet part of the circuit to cool these tyres down. Even though it's clearly an inter condition, they still need to try and cool these tyres down as they do go off the offset line. Get a little bit of temperature if they can out of it. And then they'll go through the next few corners using all of the grip that they have available. Now, 9-lap-old intermediate tyres for Terence here. Of course, they're going to look for the advantage later on. They can still push, and they won't be getting a puncture in the final laps of this race. That is one thing to be certain of. But you can see how those tyres are going to be so worn compared to the fresh tyres of Verf right now. And that's something that I wanted to talk about a few moments ago that I didn't get the opportunity to. Fresh inters compared to old inters are absolutely incredible. The pace advantage that you can get is just monumental. And yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult here for Terence to really do much about it. We'll see what they can do. We're going to get Tom and Peanuts fighting for position as it's Rare Winter just in front of them. Braking as late as they can is the Aston Martin without making contact with the Red Bull, and they will slot in between the middle of the two drivers. No DRS, just Slipstream and ERS. Will they be able to try and make an extra move here in this race on lap 11, or are they going to have to wait for a couple of laps later? 26 laps in this Grand Prix. We're not quite halfway through it, but not far away from doing that. Or reaching that milestone, I should say. Half a second behind is Peanuts. Now 10.1 seconds behind is Verf from this man, who is going to be looking to go into the pit lane in a couple of laps' time, but still probably want to try and extend this a little bit to have that extra advantage as they try and outsmart the strategy. Is that going to be a safety car? It's not. It's Red is cool, avoiding the barrier just about and staying in this race. That could have been a disastrous moment for the Brit. But front wing is absolutely fine. The tyres are just a little bit hotter than they would have liked. They went for that early pit stop, so they can't afford to do that again. These tyres are delicate. If they want to get them to the end of the race, they have to be careful. Lap 11. How long will Terence go? How far will they try and push this advantage to give them everything? They don't go to cool the tyres again. They are just trying to stay on the grippier part of the circuit, getting the car rotated with the rear right there. We've got Rare Winter and, oh, Peanuts. Peanuts tries to send it. Tom tries to go around the outside. Rare Winter holds on. It's now side by side through turn 5, as it's going to be the outside line here for Tom. Should it be the advantage or the better run? I don't know, but it's going to be Peanuts of the inside. That should be the case, surely. That should be the better line to take on the exit. Peanuts will have it. Will they have it on the exit on the Red Bull as well? No, they won't. Not even on the Ferrari. The Ferrari's now got the inside line. It's so close. It's to the cold line for Rare Winter, who moves back to the racing line. It's Tom who's ahead. It's Peanuts that goes off the circuit, and Tom makes the move in Copse Corner. A lot of squabbling, a lot of swapping of positions in this very tricky race. It's going to be a long one. We've still got a bit of distance to go, not too far away from the halfway mark. Terence continues to lead the Grand Prix, now by 8 seconds, as Verth has gained about just under 2 seconds on the car in front. Still, it's more about the long game here for Terence. They're looking to try and maybe go into the pit lane within the next 2 laps or so. So it could be this lap, it could be next lap, it could be the lap after, possibly. That's what they're looking for here, to get that extra advantage, to have that tyre life, to not worry about the final few laps, about puncture territory. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're going to see in this race. It's about how smooth can you be with that car. On the fronts, you don't want to scrub, and on the rears, you don't want to be rotating that car too much, although it's virtually impossible to not do it in F1.24. It's just the way the car works. It's impossible to avoid a bit of slip on the rear, as it kind of is anyway in the wet conditions. That should be said for sure. It's just a bit more exaggerated with the current tyre model that we have, and the handling model for the fronts. Now, 6 seconds. This time it's been a bit more of a gain. Verth's picked up the pace. Terence's tyres have been a bit more worn. They continue out on this lap for now, but it won't be long until we see the driver from Hong Kong trying to go to the pit lane. Dare I say they try to go all the way to the end? I don't think they would, because it would be so difficult to do so, and I still believe that their chances would probably be better looked at by going for a fresh set of tyres. But that's their call. They've got the data on their screen. I don't have that. They know what their tyre wear is. I don't. We can only see the tyres on the car. We can only see the laps that they've been doing and what we should be expecting from this age. Lap 14 out of 26, and they are crawling a little bit compared to Verth. Let's watch Verth through turn 7. You can see how much speed they carry through that corner. Absolutely incredible. And Jericho Willis is also going to be carrying some brilliant pace as well. Currently on target to lose another 4 points to their rival. It's Rare Winter losing 2 positions, no, only 1 to the cars around them. They try and stay ahead of both of the higher tier drivers, who are just forced to fight each other. They can't find a way through on Rare Winter. Wheel banging as they go down the straight is Peanuts and Tom. Peanuts will stay ahead, and they will get that move once again, making it at Copse Corner. They both catch up to Rare Winter into turn 6. They go side by side throughout turn 7 and 8, and then they decide who's going to be ahead by the time they get to Copse. But now it's the hanger straight, and they are nice and close. Will Peanuts have a go here on the Red Bull? Surely they do. Again, the outside line. It's just not really possible to do anything about it. They've got the grip. They've gone wide. It's a little bit too wide. They go off the circuit. They rejoin safely, and they will continue on lap 16 to try and have another go. Brilliant defense here from Rare Winter. Incredibly frustrating for Peanuts and Tom. But they're doing it anyway. And they're currently on cue to get a P, maybe 3, if it works out well for them. That is Red School having another issue. Once again, avoiding a loss of a front wing, and they will stay out, hoping to score some points here. And they will finish P5 as long as they finish this Grand Prix, which would be 10 points to the championship, and it would be allowing McLaren to extend their lead once again. Currently 73 points in the lead of the team's championship at the moment over Sauber that have only had 1 point scorer of Verf. Texi, unfortunately, with technical difficulties and not making it to a race a while ago, or last weekend, I should say, has not scored any points. Now, Terence leads Verf by just a couple of seconds. They will be gaining and right on the gearbox of the Haas by the end of this lap. That is for sure. Terence has just got to stay ahead, and of course in the wet conditions it's nice and easy to stay ahead, but that being said, with the tyre difference, with the form that Verf is in right now going for the fastest lap, I don't know how that's going to work out. It's another switch with Peanuts and Rare Winter. This time it's into the chicane. This time it's going to be a bit of understeer there for the Red Bull, trying to be aggressive as Peanuts into the corner up to the apex. There's a bit of contact, but they stay as they are and they continue. I want to look at the fastest laps again, as we see 36.8 here and the 37.8. So 1 second apart is Verf and Jericho. That spread is cool, getting a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately, in this one. 1.5 seconds is the gap that splits Verf and Terence. We're going to see what happens there in a few moments. We've got Tom having a look at maybe making progress on the Red Bull, but no, the Red Bull is actually having a look at the Aston Martin as they try and spook the green car into making a mistake, into going wide, but they don't go wide and they will continue, and I don't think there's going to be any moves up to Copse Corner this time. Tom does have a run, that being said though, but I don't think it's going to work out. They will back off and they will let things be. As we see the gap close up massively, Terence will stay ahead. It was always going to be comfortable. They wouldn't worry about losing the position as long as they didn't make any mistakes. Verf disconnects once again. More connection issues for, oh wow, the net race leader. Absolutely tragic here. We're going to try and get them back into this one. I do apologise for momentarily taking away the feed of the race. More connection issues here. And we're just going to have to wait for Verf to get back online. So nothing we can do about it for the next few moments. There is Verf, who was hoping to have a go at making that move. But no, this time not quite so simple. We will wait for the call to ask for an invite to get back into the lobby, or we will just take a moment in a second. Looking at this battle, it's pretty evened out at the moment. I don't think we'll see any moves just yet for a few moments, but Terence now leads the race. They continue, and maybe, I'm just thinking maybe they are going to try and stay out here. We are going to try and invite Verf again. It's Rare Winter into the wall on the exit of turn 5 just as we go off the screen, and it's gonna be a safety car. A full safety car is deployed. Absolutely extraordinary stuff here. Verf will be back into the lobby very shortly. That is Rare Winter out of this Grand Prix. Absolutely incredible. As soon as we go off the screen, that changes everything. Terence leads the Grand Prix and will be able to stay out and get those fresh tyres on. This is what they were hoping for with this strategy. Now we've just got to see, what will Verf's car do? No, 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 no! The AI stays out and passes the pit lane. Verf will not be able to go into the pits for fresh tyres. Jericho Willis will do so. And again, Verf is struck by connection issues. They're going to be absolutely furious. And they will be affected as well. It's going to be incredibly frustrating. Brothers Call will not be lapped. That is the good news for them. Although they're going slow, they are on their fresh tyres. They've got to try and speed up. But they are going to go so slow. It seems like they were trying to let them go. But no, there you go. Brothers Call will go through and unlap themselves, make that progress. The good news is that Verf will be able to go into the pit lane. The bad news is if they do go into the pit lane, they will lose positions. And they're probably going to lose it to Terence and Jericho. It's just a question of whether they will lose it to Peanuts and Tom. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. I want to have a look at the time penalties. 6 seconds for Tom, 6 seconds for Brett is cool. Everything else, it's going to be equal tyres except from Verf at the moment. Now, could this go Terence's way with the strategy again? Could this go his way? In the wet conditions, the second wet race in a row, Terence is hoping to make this work. Drive-through penalty for falling too far back. What on earth is that? What on earth is that? Why did the game give that? What? Unless they're falling too far back. Oh no! No, no, no! No! Verf goes into the pit lane, but a little bit too eager. And they will be disqualified and get another no point scoring result in a race consecutively. Oh, Verf, no, no, no. They tried to go into the pit lane. They tried to lose minimal time to get those fresh tyres on. And in the end, it's just been a little bit too aggressive. Your race leader is Terence. Your championship leader is Jericho Willis. And Jericho Willis, once again, sees their rival not in this race in the final few laps. I don't know what to say, but 2 non-point scoring results is huge. Absolutely huge. The benefit is Verf scored some points in the sprint earlier on, and they did gain 4 points on their rival, but they could maybe lose 20 points once again. Fastest lap also is going to be up for grabs because, well, I have to say, fresh inters are just going to be brutal. Oh, I don't know what to say. I'm lost for words. I could continue to say it again and again. I'm not gonna, because everybody's feeling exactly the same way. And definitely Verf is as well. What a tragic moment there. Still, a long way in this season. They cannot give up. Anything can happen. This time last season, Jericho Willis found themselves into the barrier on the exit of Chapel and out of the race to score no points. We come back to Silverstone with a sprint race event. It was looking like it was going to be a torrid time for the American driver yet again, but instead, they are now without their championship rival on track. I've lost count of how many times we've seen a disqualification at Silverstone, whether that be to a safety car bug and the lead car overtakes the safety car, as we saw Robbo do so at this very corner here and be disqualified, or whether it's into the pit lane. It happens all too often at this circuit, and you pay the price. Incredibly soul destroying, but it can be used as a fire to try and make progress once again, to push harder than ever. Verf should not give up in this one. A driver that was racing like they were possessed, like there was no tomorrow, on for a very, very strong chance, a very likely chance of taking that victory. I would maybe go as far as saying it was 80 to 90%. Maybe more. Straight down to 0. Terence now can try and get it. Jericho Willis has a lot of pace in that McLaren. Terence leads the safety car, and it will be Jericho to react. How's this one going to go? These tyres are going to be absolutely freezing. The pit lane entry is there for the safety car. Terence can go at any point. When will they do so, though? Will they try and catch the cars behind off guard? Or are they going to try and wait for the last moments? The McLaren watches ahead, waits ahead. When will the engine revs pick up for the Haas car? They'll go into the chicane. And we go racing once again, and they keep it nice and smooth, getting the traction on, knowing exactly what to do. Jericho tries to race to the throttle, loses a bit of time, but it's not a bad reaction at all. They are good to go. They're going to be happy with that one. No problems at all. They should be fine, and they're just going to try and pace themselves. We have got 6 laps of this Grand Prix to go. 6 laps of a sprint on the freshest tyres that you can get. That being said, we have done a few laps under the safety car. It's all about the warm-up phase. It's all about getting that advantage and then trying to continue with the pace and bring it to the end. And right now, Terence is finding a really nice bit of form. 6/10 to extend on Jericho. That is absolutely awesome. The only other current tier driver is their teammate who sits in P5 behind them. And Peanuts and Tom Robb are going to have to try and avoid having a significant impact in this race. Brothers Cool's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty at some point, as they also have a 6-second to their name. The top 3, however, have no penalties at all. And they're going to be fighting wheel to wheel for the victory, I expect. But for now, it is just on the timing screens and the most pressurized moment you can get in racing, fighting for the victory. That's a 10-second there for Brothers Cool as they go straight into the pit lane. That's the fastest lap there for Peanuts. But we don't want to look at that. We want to see the McLaren put that pressure on the Haas car. Terence has done it once this season already. Jericho's done it 3 times this season, and 1 time back-to-back. ERS, would it be used? Jericho's not going to opt to go for it this time. I think they're going to try and bleed Terence out a little bit here on the energy. That's a possible strategy. They might give it a shot. That could be their best chance. If not, pure aggression, trying to catch the Haas off guard. The American driver is this time against the American team. They've got a lot of speed on the straights. They've got a lot of speed going to Copse Corner. Would they get a good run to have a go? Maybe on the hanger straight. It could be theirs. Lap 22 out of 26. The closing stages of the Grand Prix. The most intense stages of the Grand Prix. We'll have a look at and see what the fastest lap will be for the current tier driver soon. But down the straight, Jericho is going to continue to not push and just allow things to be at the moment. They're looking to pounce at any point though. It's incredibly difficult to close up. It's incredibly difficult to make overtakes in the rain, but it's incredibly easy to make mistakes. And Jericho needs to use that to their advantage. They have to put the pressure on. They have to keep close to the back of that Haas, and they just have to make something happen. Make Terence react. Force them offline. Force them to brake a little bit too late. Will it be possible? I don't quite know. Brothers Cool is going to be looking for that fastest lap, quite possibly. Further behind, the fastest lap for the current tier drivers is not going to be important, as it's a mistake there for Terence. It's going to be side by side, and it's going to be fully ahead for the McLaren driver into turn 6. That's the move done, and will Terence be able to find another opportunity now? I don't quite know. It's going to be a difficult ask, that is for sure. The Haas is trying their best with a brilliant restart on those cold tyres. Now it's completely changed. Absolutely epic stuff there from Jericho, doing exactly what they needed to do. Terence is not over. They just need to try and relax and force Jericho into a mistake. If they can hold on to the back of the McLaren, that is, of course, the McLaren fighting for pole position earlier on. 2 tenths back in the sprint. I can't quite remember the gap in the main race, but it wasn't that big, that's for sure. Just a couple of tenths it was. It's now a 35.7 for Jericho, who looks for that fastest lap to get 21 points instead of 20 points. And that would be a massive advantage. After a few difficult races, from rounds 3 to rounds 4 and 5, it's all switched up. Oh, and it's Peanuts making contact with the back of Terence. That's not going to help. That is not going to help at all. We're on lap 24 out of 26. We're just about to get to the penultimate lap. And Terence, they're doing everything they can. The higher tier driver of Peanuts will go through. It's not worth fighting the Aston Martin. They just have to allow them to make that move. And then Terence is going to try and hope that they can be pulled along by the Aston. But really, will that be the case? I don't quite know. Jericho's got the clean air. They've got a clear track in front of them. They've got everything in the basket. They just need to deliver it. They need to check out and secure the payment, and they will receive those 21 points. Chapel, they get through. They've got no car ahead of them to lag and cause them trauma and cause them tragedy. Stowe corner, and they will go into the final chicane to reach that penultimate lap and really realise that these moments could be crucial for the championship, and they can secure a phenomenal result once again. Terence now half a second back on Peanuts. Peanuts not really able to answer Jericho Willis's pace at the moment. They're just sat in a train. The top 4 run as they are. You got Peanuts in P2. You got Terence in P3. You got Tom Robb with a time penalty, not trying to contest or cause any issues to the current tier drivers, allowing the race to play out as it is. Terence is doing everything they can, but it's just not quite so simple. And the McLaren has stepped up when it matters most, as they did last weekend in Saudi Arabia under the lights. We now go to the rain, and it's going to be quite possibly a repeat result. This time, though, with a fastest lap to go extra. Will it be the case? Well, Brothers Cool's not going to take a fastest lap away from their teammate. They're going to stay out on track and let their teammate take that one. It's just whether it will be taken away once again. Peanuts is looking to try and pick up a bit of pace, maybe have a go at leading and trying to take victory for the overall tier. And I have to be honest with you, Jericho is not going to fight that one. They are going to let that one happen. There is no point at fighting the Aston Martin. The final lap of the Grand Prix is upon us. The 26th lap of Silverstone. And Peanuts is trying to put the pressure on. Terence is 1.2 seconds away, trying to drive to the end, hoping for something to happen. Peanuts is going to look to try and go for that move. They know it can be safe. They know that they can safely get it done. They brought a bit of pace here. Jericho might try and hold on a little bit longer. Will they try and cross the line first? Will they allow the Aston Martin to go into the lead? They don't need to fight the higher tier driver, but it would be a nice bragging right to get that P1, wouldn't it? On the exit, sliding all over the place. Peanuts has a lot of battery. They'll have the slipstream, but in these conditions, as we said so many times already, it's impossible to make moves. Peanuts goes off the circuit. That could be the run. That could be the moment where they have just lost out. They send it over the curves to give it one final shot. On the ERS, they will use a big snap of oversteer there for Jericho, but I don't think it will matter. It's not going to mean anything. Jericho leads into Stowe, and that could be the final nail in the coffin. Jericho Willis has it all. Peanuts tries to find a little bit more, but it's not going to happen. Surely it's not going to happen. It's going to be Peanuts to the inside line, and they will win. They will win. Absolutely incredible. And 407 days later, Peanuts wins once again in LSI. Absolutely incredible stuff. Up to the line. I did not expect that one in the final few moments. The stoic Scandinavian swoops round the final corner on the inside line, swoops it away from Jericho Willis, and they take a smooth but crunchy victory. That is brilliant. Peanuts is once again a winner. 10 months ago was the last time a Swedish driver won a race in LSI F1.5. That was Becken on the 3rd of May 2024. But really, we need to take a look at the current tier drivers. Jericho Willis takes victory and fastest lap, where their rival scores no points. Terence gave it everything they could. They will score another podium and get that P2. It will be Fred is cool getting the P3 for the current tier drivers in the end. Tom Robb in that P4 spot. We'll go through the results now. Peanuts takes victory in LSI. Jericho Willis in P2 of fastest lap and winning for the EU drivers. Terence in P3. Tom Robb, Bread is cool. And then DNFing earlier on was Rare Winter. DSQing was Verf. This is the race director. This is the instant section. Here are the pit stops. And the results. We will be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the British Grand Prix. That was an absolutely awesome race, all the way up to the line. It just shows, despite having less drivers on the grid, you can still have a good race. We are working on it, of course, but it was still a very good one. We start with Jericho. Jericho, well, sprint race didn't quite go to plan into the first few corners. I didn't quite get to see what happened there, so I'd like to hear from you on that one. You still made some good progress. And minimise the damage, I guess you could say, on Verth. But then it all changed exactly like last week, and this time you've got the fastest lap to add to it. Can you take us through?
Yeah, thank you. It was an interesting day. You know, the qualifying, the one-shot qualifying was okay. It was pretty close to what I expected, about 3 or 4 tenths off. When in my practice, I was consistently doing 26.5, so I think it was like a 26.9 or something like that. So a little off, but not too bad, you know, considering the extra nerves of the actual event. And that got me good enough for second alongside of Verth, which has been pretty familiar because he's been pretty much unstoppable in Well, he has been unstoppable in qualifying, not pretty much. Unstoppable in qualifying. And then the start, I didn't get the best start on the inside. On those medium tires, there's some soft runners behind, and then going through the second corner, I could have given my teammate a little bit more space. I thought I gave him enough, but I squeezed him a little bit. We touched, and that kind of, you know, threw me off for the next corner. So kind of, you know, trying to figure out, get the car collected back together and figure out where he was and who else was around me, and then I blew the third corner there. So that put me into last place, and then it was just push like mad for the rest of the race. So hard with the DRS train, but I figured if I pushed as hard as I could with the medium tire, I might be able to make some headway in the last few laps with the guys on the soft, and I was able to do that. But once I got there, it was just, I had a little battery. I was trying to make some things happen that didn't really work very well, but you know, at least we didn't drop too many points there to Verth on that one. He did a great job from the lead, and so yeah, I was really impressed with him on that one. So yeah, that's what happened on that first event anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want me to roll into the main event, I guess, then?
Yeah, go straight for it. Starting P2
Okay.
once again.
Yeah. Qualifying, I did it again where I set my personal best in qualifying on my last lap, which I was really happy with, and still wasn't even close to Verth, still over 2 tenths away. And I think he had more in hand too, because I think that was on his second lap. So he's really quick. And then in the race, starting in the rain, started on the full wets, which, you know, it was a toss-up on that one. I thought I'd really like to start on the inters, but after what happened on the start of the sprint race, I was like, I really don't want to get swallowed up at the beginning and end up backwards and sideways. So I think I'll start on the more conservative tire. And that was fine. Started out pretty good and was able to stay with Verth for a few laps. And then once he got in a really good rhythm, he started to just slowly pull out a little bit, you know, a couple tenths a sector, and he just kept going and going. And so he was doing a great job. I felt like I had good pace in the wet, but he was at a different level. And I don't think anyone was touching him today if he didn't have some issues. And so, yeah, I feel very sorry for him. That it was his race, you know, his win today. I know technically I get the points, but, you know, we all know who had the best pace out there and who would have won. So I congratulate him on that. I hope he can feel, you know, good about it, even though there's a lot of disappointment there. But, you know, I'm sure all of us on the grid recognize that he was the race winner today, if he didn't disconnect. But yeah, we went to the restart, and after the safety car was able to stop for new inters, so that was my second pit stop. The Verth covered me off really good at the first pit stop. He saw what I was doing. He pitted on the next lap and got out and stayed ahead and continued to pull out. But on the safety car, everything changed. Of course, Verth had to drop out of the race. Unfortunate for him. And Terrence threw a spectacular strategy call, which was kind of the thing I was playing with at the beginning of the race, and he was bold enough to do it. So kudos to him for that. Getting that the free pit stop, so taking it down to a one stopper and put him in the lead. And at the start of the race, at the start of the restart, I just wanted to stay close to him and just take a little bit of time to feel out where I might be able to make a move, see if I could get him to use up a little bit of battery, try to create a bit of an advantage, and hope and wait for a little bit of a mistake with some pressure. And just kind of kept the pressure on Terrence. He really didn't make any significant mistakes, but just a tiny little wiggle that gave me a little more drive out of the corner, and I just used up pretty much half of a full battery to try to pull out a bit of a gap there, and was able to keep it. And then I saw that Peanuts got by Terrence, and he was chasing me down, and he was super quick, probably 3 or 4 tenths a lap quicker than me on outright pace, I think. And I just couldn't quite keep it together to the end, trying to race super clean. You make any mistakes and you get punished. I made a few little ones, which brought him in really close, and then I made the big one going into the last couple of corners. And so he took advantage of that and took that opportunity, and it was a nice move. And congratulations to him on the win on track. So it was very nicely done.
Yeah, brilliant. Everyone, you get a couple of winners instead of just one in the end today. Yeah, really, really brilliant stuff from you. Just need to try and get past turn 3 in the sprint race there, as we also saw in Singapore. Turn 3 was what happened there and put you at the back of the grid in the start of that race. So Hungary, if you can get past turn 3, do you think you can do well there?
Well, that'll be the key, right? I mean, my starts, I don't know why. In practice, my starts are really good, and then in events, my starts are not very good, and I'm not sure what that is. I guess it's just the nerves or excitement of the actual event, but something I definitely need to improve on, and we'll continue to try to improve. Hungary, that's first home event, so I think he's going to be very quick there. So we'll try to give him a challenge so he can have some fun in his home event and make him earn a win there. So we'll do the best we can.
Awesome! I can't wait. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the championship extension in both the teams championship and the drivers, and we'll see you in Hungary in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Peanuts. Peanuts. It's been a while, but you're back on top once again. Congratulations with that one. It was in dramatic style, that is for sure.
Yeah, it was interesting. The dry setup I used in the first race and yesterday, I realized I think I was running super low wings, which made me quick down the straight, but I was struggling in the corners where it wasn't really too consistent. Which I realized was a big problem following cars today. Like, I felt like I was ramming into everybody in front of me. And then just killing my momentum. So I actually opted to fully change my setup. Like, not because I saw it was wet, but it wasn't like a wet setup I ran. I ran a dry setup, but a more stable one. Which I ran with the last season of LSI, an old setup, so... kind of took a gamble on that. It seemed like it paid off, but like I said, I wasn't too quick down the straights, and rear winter was hella annoying. Like, me and Tom Brainerd both agreed that bro can defend, and he had so much straight line speed. He was holding us up like crazy. And I realized, like, even with the safety car after he spun, like, it would be a difficult one to win because I felt like I would probably have as much straight line speed compared to the other guys. Like, it was tough. Like, there was no way of overtaking. You just, like, always had the racing line. But I just dig deep and focused on my own race. Realized that Terrence was slower than expected. And compared to his first stint, because I thought he was absolutely killing it. And then I think it was it Jericho? Yeah, it's Jericho. I mix up Jericho and Verve. Jericho just. I didn't think I had a chance. I thought he was just chilling in front with 100 ERS. So I just assumed that I could bait for, the inside overtake, like, going for a dive and then just taking the line straight away. And that worked. He went wide, and then it just like I could get so much better traction than him that it was like there was no big chance for him, really, at that point. But it was a little too bad for him that he locked up. But I mean, he did still get 4 points, so I'm not too sad about it.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously there was a big, a decent gap between the cars behind, so you can go for a little bit more of a risk as long as you know you can get it done safely. So it's absolutely awesome. Really, congratulations. 407 days ago, you did that last time, and you've managed to do it again. Really well done. Hungary is the next one. Surely you got to try and go for the win in the F1 tier next time.
Here's the thing. I don't really count this as. I don't count this as a win because it's 1.5 and I want that 1.10 win. Or actually just a 1 win, the F1 win. And I won't be satisfied until I get that. This was a good motivational boost because it was very tricky conditions, very hard to overtake, and I did last to first, even though there were 7 cars. Hungary, I tend to be shit around. I do enjoy the track. It's very technical, but it's a little too technical for me to be able to compete with the top guys.
Awesome. I can't wait. And yeah, so 10 months ago in F1.5, we saw Becken, the last Swedish driver to win in F1.5. 11 months ago, the last Swedish driver to win was Rillaton in Qatar. You're going to have to try and break that and make sure it doesn't get to a year. We'll see you next time in 2 weeks. Thank you very much, Peanuts. Congratulations.
Cheers.
And we move on to Terence. Terence, the one with the absolutely awesome strategy that didn't quite work out in the end. Really, really tough stuff there. Were you intending on staying out all the way to the end on those tyres? And if the safety car didn't come out, where do you think you'd have finished that race?
Yeah, that is the gamble, I would say, because when the strategy view pop up, the computer assumed us to start on wet cars. But because I have discussed the strategy with my race engineers, and I think it's very worthy to just start on inters and go until the end with the same car, and it works after, I think in the first 10 laps, because other one Silverstone is maybe the longest and the slowest pit throughout the whole F1 calendar, kinda, is it? But yeah, because they have fresher tires, and actually after when the dry line appear, actually my rear left is already being overheated, so it's very difficult to manage. I try to manage, and after third hit, actually I see the gap around 12 seconds at the start. I try to keep it like 0.7 down a second, but down per lap, I would say. But it's very hard, and my rear left feel worse since then. So I just aim for P2 at that moment, not P1. But unfortunately, he disconnected, and also because he's disconnected, he missed out the safety car. And when he really go for the pit, but he get through the line before the safety car get through the start finish line. So so that's caused DSQ, I think. So it's really unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
I think he deserved the rain, as Draco said, and I think after the safety car, I tried to don't do any mistakes, but I did. And obviously I've got, because my setup is just using the same setup uh, with with the condition in dry, so not really that fast. My pace isn't there after the restart, so I try to push a little bit, but that cause a little bit wiggle on the exit, so that's why I lost a place. But overall, I think it's very funny to race because I'm the only one who started on intermediates, and I mean the first few laps is trying to squeeze out any potential pace through the corner.
Yeah.
Try to brake in any moment, any later. Try to do anything to keep up the pace with the wet tires. I think in that point, I did very well.
Yeah, I have to say at the start you were doing an awesome job to stay with the wets, and also on the safety car restart when the tyres are incredibly cold, your pace was absolutely phenomenal. Before you pitted, of course, before the safety car, was there a worry that you may have got a puncture towards the final few laps of the race if you didn't pit?
As counted, as simulated, my tire wear should be around 60% at the end. Yeah, so I mean, if everyone have telemetry, you can be even faster every Grand Prix. It's a really kind of advantage because you know, my friends is very capable of doing the race engineers, and he also do some crazy things with me in the midnight. So
Yeah.
I have to thank him.
Yeah. And I have to thank both of you as well. Thank you very much to you, Terence, and thank you very much to Mars for dedicating all that you do in the races, and the podiums, of course, are really nice to get. And unfortunately, with Verf having another 0-point scoring event that does catch you up massively, Hungary is a very different circuit, high downforce. Do you like Hungary?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, because I think around 4 months ago, I found you to make a setup, and it works very well. I don't do any update from that one.
Oh, really?
I was just trying to maybe go for setup changes, but I don't think I have time to do because I have to do some revision on my academic stuff. So just try it. I mean, podium is still next objective in Hungary, but I think I've shown some pretty good hard stint pace in race. So if there is no safety car, I hope there is not. It could be good for me because my consistency is quite something onto the grid.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah, hard tyres would be awesome if you can get on top of them around Hungary. Good luck with the revision, Terence. Congratulations, you're now P2 in the championship. We will see you next time in 2 weeks. Well done today.
Thank you.
That's the wrong button. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you in 2 weeks' time for the Hungarian Grand Prix. We'll see you throughout this week. There's some more practice lobbies. I can't wait. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.